Amber Heard's attorneys have just filed new documents detailing their claim that one of the jurors lied to the court by pretending to be the person who was summoned. Johnny Depp calls Amber Heard sick as she claimed a new juror to be an imposter in their trial. The claim surprised everyone in the courtroom. Fans were curious to know how it happened. Who was the juror claimed to be an imposter by Amber Heard? How did Amber Heard prove the juror to be an imposter? Keep watching to know more. According to the new documents, a jury summons was delivered to a Virginia home where two people with the same name live. The summoned person is 77 years old, but the person who actually showed up for jury duty is 52. According to the records, both people have the same surname. It appears they must also share the first name, as having different first names would raise a red flag with the court. The first name is not addressed in the document. In any case, Amber's lawyers claim this was a court of law fraud because the 52-year-old was never supposed to serve on the jury, but apparently wanted to. Johnny calls Amber Heard sick and manipulative and says that this claim is yet another strategy for her. As you may be aware, that juror, along with the others, all sided with Johnny Depp on his defamation claim. In Virginia, a unanimous verdict was required. Amber's attorneys are appealing the verdict and requesting a new trial. Fans were curious to know how it's possible, and they took to Twitter to know their answers. One user stated that, "Fight and let the interest accumulate. Her insurance has already stated that they will not pay for her." Another added that, "Please bear with me." So Alina is now Amber, and Johnny can hardly articulate himself, but desperately wants to. So they've enlisted a legal team to help them figure out how to help her with identity issues, and Johnny how to reason legally and analyze. One more added that, "I have to say that Amber Heard is a much classier woman than I am, because I would go into sicko mode like, what do you mean some freak was just sitting there playing juror for 6 weeks? Another wrote, "If no one was checking IDs, that's insane. If he had a fake ID, that's even more insane for different reasons." One more added that woman's grace and composure is the face of one of the most horrific internet smear campaigns I've ever seen is admirable, totally unrelatable. However, admirable. Another further says, "They should have checked that, so it's their fault. Don't lawyers screen the jury?" A user replied saying, "That is why this cannot be used on the basis for a mistrial. They would have noticed during jury selection and proceeded anyway." One more added, "Remember the Grizzly Maxwell trial? They had a real problem with a juror, and the case was not thrown out, nor was the verdict. I know one was criminal and this one is not, but shouldn't the same rule apply?" Another user stated that, "A deep sigh, reaching for the reluctant." On that, a user said, "But if both are registered as potential jurors in that county, everything should be fine, right?" Another adds, "I'm hearing lawyers say that this isn't a problem because she seated him as a juror after finding no problem with him." One more says, "Then she can't because the summons didn't specify whether senior or junior, and I'm sure they assumed senior because he's 77. Plus, the jury thing is in black and white in the documentary. She's becoming increasingly ridiculous and needs to stop." A further user said, "Didn't they say in their damn motion that it's their job to verify and that issues like this don't give them the right to a mistrial in Virginia?" A user also said, "I wouldn't be surprised if it turns out to be a father and son with the same name, and the summons didn't include a DOB, so the younger one assumed a 77-year-old wouldn't be summoned." Another user replied, "When checking in for jury duty with a summons in hand, this is a big question. In California, I believe they require a driver's license or identification. It's been a long time since I've served." One more user added that, "She simply needs to let this shit go, man. It's over." On that, a user replied saying, "She's only digging herself deeper. I thought she was excited to spend time with her daughter. I feel sorry for the girl." One more added that, "I doubt it, but a 54-year-old and a 77-year-old can live together. Were the jury members Asian? Because many Asians share the same surname but are unrelated." A user replied, "I wouldn't rule it out for AH and her team. Maybe that's why she couldn't cry during the verdict." Another says, "I wouldn't rule it out for AH and her team. Maybe that's why she couldn't cry during the verdict." A user further wrote that, "Why am I not surprised by this? What if it's hearsay or some other nonsense to cover up such a ridiculous defendant we saw, heard, and understood during the trial? What is the end result of this? That is no longer even a question." A user also stated that, "Since the beginning, AH and team have been out on the hunt for the jurors. Who is the man behind Amber Heard? Where is the funding for her to continue? Those are the queries I have. It fascinates me that she is still raging." One user also wrote that, "How? Only one of the 7 jurors is being questioned. It makes no difference to the majority's decision. Perhaps the senior gentleman was diagnosed with Alzheimer's or something, and the junior gentleman mistook him for being called for jury duty. What happens if this is the case?" One said, "Despite her military training and obvious self-control, I believe Judge A will simply clear the court and then trash it. We'll clear it up, never bring it up again, and our admiration for Judge A will only grow. Judge A, a bite down on the wood." What do you think about the juror being an imposter? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to subscribe.